Good luck finding someone big enough to use this thing.
Alrighty, what's up guys, Single Player Nacho here. A single bell toll strikes every ganado in sight, who are programmed to stop whatever they're doing and bend their will to the so-called holy body. The gaunt, emotionless faces of the villagers head toward the village town hall. This is a significant location for their cult due to its privacy and place of worship, sacrifice, and violent discourse. For one monstrous, former human, turned 30-foot giant, the town hall, believe it or not, was once home.
Jesus Christ!
El Gigante's unbelievable size would make you instantly believe in old folklore, and crap yourself while doing so. This thing seemed to have risen out of a cave and caused mayhem to the village. The townsfolk captured the beast and used it to attack outside forces. But that is far, far from reality. Los Gigantes were once very much human, the same size as any normal infant, at first. Forget about folklore. Plaga experimentation is what made it the monster as we know it. The first Gigante swings and thrashes at Leon viciously with no remorse. If this was anyone else fighting El Gigante, 90s haircut or not, El Gigante would definitely slaughter you and me, instantly. It sees everything. Los Iluminados, Los Ganados, Sadler, Salazar, Leon, as the same. Everything is just food. Thankfully, that's all this thing ever thinks about, which ultimately leads to its demise. It'll begin to fumble around, even completely trapping itself under a cluster of rocks. A mishap, thanks to its very own rage. Once that happens, you'll start to see El Gigante in a different light. This was no small oversight by the devs. They clearly wanted you to see how naive this giant actually is. And before you know it, it goes down for good. After killing the first Gigante, venturing inside its makeshift studio apartment is nothing short of bloody. Bones, flesh, and hair. Loads of that stuff is found inside. It becomes pretty clear that El Gigante has some sort of hibernation cycle, which is what keeps the beast so docile and how Los Ganados were able to tame it in the first place. As we've covered in the last video, human sacrifices were made by the villagers in an attempt to rid their land of starvation and famine, but that's not the entire truth. Cows were supposedly sacrificed as well, but apparently, most of those cows ended up being fed to our giants. Notice who exactly commands this thing before its first appearance. A red-robed, goat-headed cultist. One of the higher-ranking Illuminados. I wouldn't be surprised if the threat of starvation and famine was used as a hoax within the village in order to cover up the reason for the lack of healthy cows. All of those went straight into the mouth of the ever-growing giant. Just a hunch, however. This den is also home to a file known as the Rearing Log, a file that will fundamentally change everything you thought you knew about Los Gigantes in Resident Evil 4. The entries are chronicled by what is likely El Gigante's age at the time. At 6 months old, the file states, its teeth have only just come through, but it shoves everything within reach into its mouth. It can't walk yet, but it swallowed a dog whole. As we are led to believe, Los Iluminados experimented on extremely young villager babies, maybe even fetuses, so much so that the effects of the experiments were noted as early as 6 months. They develop an undying appetite for just about anything, regardless of size. That line, "swallowed a dog whole," I think, is a clever dig at the boss fight itself. Our superdog comes in and saves Leon's butt. Sure, but since El Gigante swallowed a dog, the fight may have been a little bit more personal than we once thought. At 9 months, it already towers over me, but it keeps growing. The town hall can no longer contain it. This giant was already at average adult height even before it was a year old. Imagine that, a big ass baby. This entry also reveals El Gigante's initial home, the town hall. I find that very interesting. Because of all the cultish activities performed at this location, the villagers must have looked at El Gigante as undeniable proof of Osmond Saddler's power. They must have prayed for the beast to continue growing in size in order to aid their cause. In some respect, their prayers were answered. The town hall also contains what we can assume to be a former Gigante's skull, placed directly in the middle. How many of these things failed to materialize before the first giant in the game? And in essence, how many infants were slaughtered? For Osmond Saddler, it didn't really matter, as long as his persistence finally conjured him a successful candidate. The file's final page states, 17 months. There are only a few cows left now. At this rate, the whole village will starve. We summoned help from the castle and had them put the beast to sleep with an incantation. Hopefully, it won't wake for a long time. And with that, our suspicions are clarified. Osmond Saddler and the Los Illuminados higher-ups purposefully starved their villagers in order to keep their giant prospect fed and happy. That's how little they cared about their followers. Not surprising whatsoever. They'd hope El Gigante would lay dormant for a very long time, in order to counteract its constant need for food. Even in the original RE4, I always found it pretty damn scary how you can walk up to El Gigante's door and hear its contained rage. It's so quiet, but you can definitely hear this thing's hunger. That's some scary stuff. Now we know the truth behind the giant in Resident Evil 4, but why go through the trouble of keeping this thing alive in the first place? What was its ultimate purpose?
The underground here is sacred to them. See, this is where they discovered Las Plagas, preserved inside ancient deposits of Ember.
Chapter 11 kicks off with an unlikely duo, Luis and Leon. Somewhat of an odd couple. One is animated and lively, while the other I'd liken to a dead fish. I'll let you assume who is who. That's a bit harsh. A really cool dead fish.
Then come, Sancho Panza. Let us rescue the Princess Dulcinea.
You gotta hurt yourself.
Hey, that was my dance.
Having Luis in this chapter is vital to understanding the operations of Los Illuminados, as a former employee of the insane cult, as well as Umbrella. You'll find the townspeople all the way down here. And okay, they are workers after all. But what the hell are farmers doing in the mines? They're digging for more precious amber, a glistening material that contains the deadly parasites. These villagers are already slaves in the mine, but they are forced to work and dig within treacherous conditions. It may seem effective at first, but even old farmers have their physical limits. What's a quicker, more time-effective, and easier way to dig? Simple.
Now you owe me.
Luis, heads up!
There's a reason why there is not one, but two Gigantes found within the mines. They make for excellent excavators. cutting down a considerable amount of time for Sadler to get his hands on more amber, more plagas. More of those things equal more fucked up monsters to come out into the fold. You can see their progress as you go lower into the mines. The vast emptiness down here, the humongous depths underneath Salazar's castle, are done in part by our friendly neighborhood giants. Going back to the rearing log, an entry clearly lays out Los Illuminados' intent to use the giants as workers. 13 months. It can swing our largest pickaxe as if it were a twig. One of the men in the village was almost eaten today, too. It's not getting enough food. Now that solves and at the same time muddies up two things. For one, the gigantic pickaxe found near the first Gigante isn't some hilariously big prop. Secondly, it makes you wonder just how in the hell were the giants feasibly calmed down to a point of being told what to do and mine for amber for days on end. I mean, the entry clearly states how close this thing came to eating one of the villagers at just 13 months. How are you going to control this thing during its angsty teen years when it grows even bigger? It's no secret. These things are simply deadly, deadly monsters that act as ticking time bombs when disturbed. Look at the mass murder it caused in the original. That same bloodshed leads me to believe that the more violent Gigantes are actually used for combat. In Chapter 8, there is a surprise appearance of an armored Gigante, only this one doesn't chase you down and step on you. No, this thing has the capacity to hurl gigantic boulders at you. If Chris Redfield were here, it'd be another story, but since we're Leon, this situation just goes to show the various uses for these things. Either that, or the cult's attempt to subject the giants into workers ultimately failed, and they figured they'd use them as weapons. In the end, we can't forget what they really are: bioweapons. But it is nearly inconceivable to think that Los Gigantes were normal humans once upon a time. In reality, they weren't. At 9 months old, they were already grown enough to fill out a town hall. The villagers prayed and prayed for the gigantic infants to grow, and surely they did. A note in the town hall details just how far gone these people have become as they look on to raise the Gigante babies. Sleep well and flourish, dear child. As your body grows, your mothers shall sew new small clothes. At 7 quintal of wheat and half a bowl a day, you have outgrown your pen. Flourish, dear child, for the sake of your brothers and sisters, who cannot. This note is just absolutely startling. Take into account that final sentence. For the sake of your brothers and sisters, who cannot. Are the villagers referring to their own children, who can't possibly grow, meaning they are dead, due to their bodies not being able to cooperate with Las Plagas? This is sick, twisted stuff. Unbeknownst to them, the infants would cause a dramatic starvation throughout the village. In short, they prayed for their own downfall. The infants' bodies grew, but their minds could never keep up with the insane changes, which led to minimal intelligence and an undying appetite. What's crazy to me, personally, is that Los Gigantes never truly realized the shitstorm of a cult they were attached to. To them, the Los Illuminados insignia is just a random symbol that held zero significance. And that, maybe, just maybe, may have been a win after all.
Stop right there!
you guys so much for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you thought of El Gigante's new backstory. Do you feel that it added to his monster character or took away from it? Let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more horror lore, lists, and mysteries. Have an awesome rest of your day. And as always, stay single.